Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. Welcome to Robbie Rants Live. It's the live show that we do here pretty much every Sunday night, 7 o'clock Central Time. We're going to be talking about movies, comic books, pop culture, all that and more. We'll take a look at this upcoming week's new comic books. We'll chat about all that jazz and more. I'm very excited to have you guys with me. So once you get into the chat room, once you get on the board, just let us know you're here and we can see who's all here and we can start chatting up and all that jazz. Like I said, I am Rockin Robbie Billups for Pop Culture Philosophers, the home of the weekly comic book review, all that and more. So we usually start off the video with a look at this week's upcoming new comics. We're going to start with Image. And we'll let a few more people get in here first, just to see if we can get some more people in there. Yeah, we got some more people in here. How y'all doing? So upcoming Image comics this week. You know, we can chat a little bit about last week's comic books if you guys read those, things like that. What's up, Santo? He says there's a slow week coming up. It is a 5th Wednesday. So every so often in comic books, of course, there are 5 Wednesdays in a month. The comic books come out every Wednesday. So I remember back in the day when like literally almost nothing would come out. And then DC started doing those 5th week events because back in the day, comic book schedules were a little bit more on point, to be honest. But now there will still be some picks from DC and from Marvel. We got some annuals. We got the little Looney Tunes DC specials coming out this week. But typically the 5th Wednesday has always been a lighter week. And I think it's usually a blessing, is it not? What's up, Juan? How you doing? So from Image Comics, we have Isola number 5. I've been loving that book. Isola, however you pronounce it. I haven't gotten a definitive pronunciation of that yet. New World number 2 is out this week. Number 1 made my pick of the week. I really, really liked that book. So that's out. And Wayward number 28. See, so even Image Comics doesn't have a whole lot coming out this 5th Wednesday. I'm very surprised at Wayward. I thought that book was done. That surprised me. Dark Horse probably doesn't have too much either. Blackwood number 4, Modern Fantasy number 3, and a StarCraft book. So yeah, it's going to be a slow week, guys. But that also is always the perfect time to catch up on some trade paperbacks or try out some new titles or anything like that. Probably be the same case with IDW. We got a Euthonauts number 2. The first issue was intriguing enough, but I don't know if I'm going to check that one out. A new one called House Amok. A new Judge Dredd book. A new My Little Pony. Rick and Morty versus Dungeons and Dragons. So I know a lot of cats out there like D&D and Rick and Morty, so kind of combining those two worlds together. And it's official. It's an official crossover with Dungeons and Dragons and Rick and Morty. I'm not the biggest D&D guy, but I do like Rick and Morty. I really do. Star Wars Adventures. Yeah, there's not a lot coming out. Oh, that's interesting. It's like, yeah, it's like they're doing their own, IDW's like doing their own versions of the Star Wars movies, their own adaptations. That's kind of interesting. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Bebop and Rocksteady hit the road, number 5, the final issue, a new Bumblebee. So yeah, it's going to be a small week, guys. It's going to be a small one. From Boom Studios, though, we got Bone Parish number 2. Bone Parish was a really, really good book. We got the trade paperback of Eugenic. Out of those 3 books, I would definitely say my favorite was Memetic. I thought that was great. But another one of my favorite books from recent memory is Judas. Judas, the trade paperback, the graphic novel's coming out. That book was amazing. It's basically the story of Judas from the New Testament, and it kind of, it's a different take on the story, but it still feels classic, and it's soulful and haunting. It's really, really good. The artwork's amazing too. And Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Shattered Grid, that's going to wrap up this week in a one-shot special, $7.99. I even think there's going to be a hollow foil cover out there available, which sounds exciting, doesn't it? Sounds exciting to me. Definitely going to be a light week. Let's see if we got anything of note coming from some other publishers. Brothers Dracul number 5. Yeah, Leviathan was a good book, man. I'd highly recommend. It's a good time to check out Leviathan number 1. I thought I don't know. It's not like I was expecting the book to be uber serious, but I thought it was okay. Judas would be a good one to try this week. That trade paperback. If you get a chance to get a hold of that, I really like that book. So you guys all seen, not seen, but have you all had a good weekend? You know, we got college football starting up next weekend, guys. Kind of exciting. Any college football fans? Rick and Morty number 41 is out this week. Submerged number 2 for Vault Comics fans, like a lot of us are. That second issue comes out this week. That's going to be exciting. Walk Through Hell number 4. That book's been one of the better Garth Ennis books of recent memory for me. All right, now we'll go back and look at the upcoming DC and Marvel comics from this week. But first, let's just chat for a minute. Collapse. All right. Extermination. Yeah, there should be a new issue of Extermination out this week, right? There was 2 the first month. So I think the second issue of Ed Brisson's Extermination, the big Marvel X-Men event, is going to kind of wrap up all these loose end X-Men stories that have been bumbling around for a while. That's going to be very exciting to see. I was really, really impressed with issue number 1. I thought it was really, really good. What's up, James? I have not noticed that Dead Rabbit comic. Is that, wait, that's the one? Who's doing that one? Is that Duggan? I don't know. Who is that one? I think I've heard about it, but I don't know too much about it. But of course, we'll probably definitely be checking it out here on the channel on the weekly comic book review. So we're going to go back and we're going to look at the DC comics. Let's go there first, right? That sounds good, doesn't it? All right, Batgirl number 26 is out this week. Batgirl Annual number 2 is out this week. It's going to be a light week like we've been talking about, but DC has all of those new Looney Tunes DC crossovers coming out this week. So you're getting Catwoman and Tweety and Sylvester. You're going to get the Lex Luthor and Porky Pig one. I'm really looking forward to that one. What is there? There's a Harley Quinn Gossamer and a Joker Daffy Duck, which that could be interesting too. That could be very interesting. Yeah, there they are. All right, The New Gods by Jack Kirby gets a new edition trade paperback. It's going to be in the same trade dress as the Demon trade was and Mr. Miracle, and those have been really fun collections. A Nightwing Annual, a Red Hood and the Outlaws Annual, the first issue of Scarlet from Alex Maleev and Brian Michael Bendis. That book has existed over at Marvel Icon, but now this will be the first time that it's continuing, first of all, and it's going to be over at DC under his Jinx World brand. And the Silencer Annual. So Slim Pickens from DC Comics this week, guys. Really looking forward to the Lex Luthor Porky Pig special. But there's some slim pickings at DC. But they are releasing that New Gods trade. And we were talking about Boom releasing that Judas trade. So, like I said, it's a great week when it's light weeks like this to try something out. What are you guys most excited for this week? Comic book wise. And then let's look at Marvel Comics. All right, from Marvel Comics this week, we've got a Daredevil Annual. I haven't been reading Daredevil. Don't really like what Soul's been doing on that title. The final issue of Deadpool Assassin ships this week. Edge of Spider-Geddon number 2. That one looks like it's going to focus on, the Spider, the one that was like the mech Spider-Man that was created by Gerard Way, right? Exiles number 7 is out. I've been very impressed with that book. Extermination number 2, we were just talking about that. That first issue is really, really cool. Looking forward to the next issue. Hunt for Wolverine Dead Ends. It's a one-shot that wraps up all those pretty meaningless Hunt for Wolverine storylines and builds into the Return of Wolverine, which starts very, very soon. And I believe I am going to be getting a sneak peek this week of Heroes in Crisis. So I'll definitely talk to you guys about that a little bit. Not tonight because I haven't read it. The next issue of Marvel 2-in-1, that's issue number 9. That ships this week. Moon Knight 198, Miss Marvel 33, the final issue of New Mutants Dead Souls by Matthew Rosenberg. I'm excited to see how that wraps up. Runaways number 12, Star Wars Lando, Double or Nothing number 4, and a Poe Dameron Annual, the second annual, and some new printings of some Venom books. And Venom, the First Host number 1 comes out this week. I have already read that. It's pretty good. It's pretty decent. The Mark Bagley artwork's going to take you back to the 90s. That's pretty cool and exciting. And who the First Host is, it makes sense. It wasn't like when they first announced the whole thing, I was like, that just seems weird, but it makes sense. And I thought it was done pretty well. It's not going to be as strong as the Kate's Venom book that's out right now, but it's fun. But what it mostly does is, if you were reading Venom before Donny Cates took over, Mike Costa was doing the story where like Venom was going to have a baby or something like that. And it's going to kind of continue on with that storyline. X-Men Blue number 34 is out this week, and the second issue of Second Genesis X-Men Grand Design is out this week. So it's slim pickings. It's not a very, very big week for comic books, but that means that the weekly comic book reviews probably be out a little bit sooner, right? What's up, David? How you doing? Well, going over the week's comics, that did not take too long. It is a very light week. What's up, Juan? How you doing? So what do you guys want to chat about? Sentry came out this week. Yes, the Sentry was out last week. I really enjoyed that book. I think they've been doing a great job. Something interesting about Sentry, it's disappeared out of solicitations post issue 5. So it may only be 5 issues, and it may be done. But we don't really know. Do I know a good place to sell comics? Like you as a person to sell comic books? Would be online, I would recommend. eBay, Craigslist, stuff like that. But I've been liking everything Jeff Lemire was doing. It was just one of many Jeff Lemire books that were out this week. And aside from Hit Girl, I didn't read that one. But he had 4 others that I read. Sentry, Terrifics, Black Hammer, and Royal City, the final issue of Royal City. Jeff Lemire is the writer of the year right now for me. He's the one to beat. He's just doing some of the best work of his career, some of the best work in the industry, some of the best work in the game ever. And I just think he's doing a great job. I liked the first issue of The Punisher. I've been liking everything that Matthew Rosenberg's been doing with The Punisher. Having a lot of fun with it, and so is he, apparently. I really liked the War Machine storyline, and this story is really cool, too. The whole basic idea that Frank was kind of committing these international war, incidents when he was in the War Machine armor, and now he's paying for the consequences of that, but he doesn't really care. He's still just going on this crazy one-man war against Hydra, and it's so fun. I really like Matthew Rosenberg's take on Punisher. Oh, that sucks that it's sold out, man. I think it only has 2 issues left. You might as well go ahead and put it on your pull list so that you don't miss it, right? Yeah, Santo? That was let's try to avoid some spoilers. I don't know if everybody's read everything, but yeah, for real, right? Yeah, but they weren't doing anything with them. David, I'm right there with you. Baby Teeth, when it first came out, I thought it was one of the weaker Donny Cates books that I have read. But I'm just loving it more and more issue to issue, and I've been meaning to get back and do like a whole reread of it. I think that would be very beneficial. But I'm enjoying the story. It's taken turns that I wasn't expecting, and I really, really like that. I think Donny Cates is doing an amazing job over at Baby Teeth, and I really like the artwork and the coloring in the newest issue. Some of the best coloring in a comic book this year. Speaking of coloring, today on the weekly pop culture wrap-up, we were talking about the new Conan book. It's going to have artwork by Azrar, and it's going to be written by Jason Aaron. I forgot to mention that the coloring is going to be done by Matt Wilson. So that's pretty exciting. What's up, all time? Yeah, I definitely think it's super cool to tie that thing in together. It kind of puts a new, it puts a little bit of a new spin on that Thor story. And I love that Thor story. It was the start of Jason Aaron's big, giant Thor epic that he's still in the middle of. We're still towards the end of telling right now. But it has this new element to it, and it's really, really cool. Yeah, the Coyote. Yeah, I don't know about the Defenders things. I've never been the biggest Defenders guy. I really haven't. Those are some awesome characters. I love Silver Surfer. I love Doctor Strange. I love Namor. And I love Hulk. They just never really worked so well together. I never quite got it. I don't know. I think I need to do an intensive reread of some of the old school Defender stuff. I haven't read a lot of that stuff. I mostly just read the stuff that crossed over with the Avengers at the time, because they kept doing these like Avengers Defenders wars and things like that. But they're one shots, and they're kind of like, I don't know. I think it's testing the waters to see if there is a possibility of a new Defenders book on the way that's more tied in with the old school Defenders team, because it seems like Netflix is abandoning the Defenders as being the name for the Daredevil, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones. That Defenders book was great. Old school Defenders, though, it's a weird. They're such powerhouses, but I guess they don't really work together. But that's a really strong team, is it not? But I think it's kind of cool, and I think since Netflix is going to probably not do a Defenders season 2, I think Marvel's kind of leaning more back into doing some like old school Defenders type stuff. It's what it seems. One, I do not think that Lois and Clark are going to get divorced. I think they will go through some marital problems. I think that is the route that Bendis wants to take to try to like humanize Superman a little bit. I think it's a decent route because the one thing that Superman can't be protected from is a broken heart. And as long as it doesn't get super sappy and cheesy, I think it'll be handled very, very well. And I think it's a good story to write about a married person, a married man, and a father, a recent father even. So I think it's cool, interesting thing, interesting dynamic. I don't like the big, slow, soap opera kind of build-up type stuff that's been going on with it. But ultimately, I'm liking what Bendis is doing on Superman, and I'm still on board with that. But I don't think that they're going to actually get a divorce. I just think that they're going to be kind of apart and separate for just a little bit. And mostly, they would do that because that Bendis wants to kind of like take. I mean, it seems like Bendis wanted to take Lois and Jonathan out of the equation a little bit, so we could actually focus on Superman for a while. And I think that's a valid reason, and I think it's a cool exploration. We'll see what happens, and hopefully he can do some nice exploration with the character of Lois as well. It seems like Lois is the right kind of character for a Bendis to write. I think that she'd be a good side character for a book that he's on. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen with that. Lois would hide from Clark because I don't know. I mean, like, she could be mad. Okay, first of all, they've already set up the idea that Superman has lost the ability to communicate with them, and he promised that he would stay in touch with them, right? But he has no idea where they are, so he can't stay in touch with them. And plus, all this craziness is going on right now between the book, what's going on in Action Comics, what's going on in Superman, and what's going on in Justice League. Superman's having a busy month. So Lois may be bitter about that. Something may have happened there that we don't know. She may have been ditched out by Jor-El. We have no idea where Jonathan is. We just know that Lois is back and hiding from Clark and writing her book. And I don't know. Maybe she's mad at him about something, or she doesn't want him to know that she left Jonathan up there with Jor-El out in time and space. Who knows? I'm eager to find out. What I really like about what he's doing is the take on Superman. The Lois and Jonathan stuff. And what it's doing is providing Bendis the opportunity to just make his statement on Superman first. And so it may seem like unnecessary drama, but it's also not something that they really tackle so much in Superman. He's kind of always perfect in his marriage. And him and Lois there have been moments where they have some squabbles, but nothing ever really, I don't know. And you can't get melodramatic with it. You don't want to make the book all about a couple fighting or anything like that. But it's a neat little thing to see how Superman's going to react to it, how he can handle being Superman when he's hurting emotionally inside. And I think that's what he's going for. What do I expect for the new Uncanny X-Men series? I expect the new Uncanny X-Men series to kind of go right along the route that was just taken recently by Avengers before Jason Aaron came on. They did that story, No Surrender. I think it's going to be something like that. I think it's going to be this big epic story. I think it's going to shake some things up. They may kill off a character or two. I don't think too much of that will be going on, but it'll be a reshifting of the focus of the X-Men onto certain characters, certain new storylines and wrap-ups of previous storylines and subplots possibly, and just kind of get it ready for whatever's going to happen in January or February or whatever, when either Jonathan Hickman comes in or one of those writers that's on Uncanny X-Men, the weekly event, Thompson, Brisson, Rosenberg take over. So we'll see what happens. And what I think is going to happen is that one of them will take over Uncanny, one of them will probably do X-Men, and there may be like an X-Force book or something like that. And maybe Astonishing will continue on as well. Or maybe Astonishing will be swallowed up and kind of redistributed. I don't know. Who knows? But I'm expecting Uncanny X-Men to be a wrap-up of the last 5 to 6 years of X-Men stories and to set up some focuses for new plots and new characters and just new like where the new focus will be on which favorite X-Men and things like that. But I think Extermination is going to be the one with the most like deaths and crazy moments. They'll put some crazy moments in this Uncanny X-Men thing, but I think it'll be mostly just getting the line ready for what's to come next. I agree with you all the time. Venom is one of my favorite characters. I love Venom. I think Venom's great. I love the look of him. I love the character. I loved how badass he was back in the day. And the mullet never bothered me when I was a kid. So I've always been just a big fan of Venom and Carnage and anything that's related to the symbiotes. But this is the first time we've had a really, really good Venom comic. And they are adding so much depth to the character, to the backstory, not just the character of Eddie Brock, but the character of the symbiote. And it's doing amazing work there, making it fun, making it exciting. It's definitely a water cooler type comic book where when you get to the comic shop, it's what we're all sitting around talking about is what craziness happened in Venom. I don't know for sure how Marvel came up with the name for the character of Venom, but I'm fairly certain it has something to do with the fact that some spiders are venomous. So I'm assuming that's it. I guess that's is that David Michelini, right? Is that how you pronounce his last name? Or is it Michelin? I used to call him, when I was a kid, I used to call him David Michelin. Then I heard somebody say Michelini, and that sounded better to me. But they're probably both wrong, knowing me. Well, we're talking about Teen Titans with the Damian thing. I don't know if the question should be if Damian will be punished, or how will because Batman punishing. I mean, there's going to be consequences, obviously, and Bruce may not be completely down with that. But do you think Bruce doesn't know? Do you think Damian's that sly that he's doing something that Bruce doesn't know about? That may be the case. I think Damian is that badass and is that sneaky and is that awesome. I like that they kind of have a reveal that he's not necessarily killing these people, but he's just locking them up. But he's gonna learn his lesson on his own. He won't have to be punished by Bruce. He'll be punished by the storyline when they all get out, when it goes bad. And then Bruce will be like, sure. But because even Bruce doesn't do that, right? Unless you're the Joker. He'll just lock you up in a vault in the Batcave for a while if you're the Joker. But it's going to be really interesting to see what happens and how that all comes to be. I'm with you there all the time on the Superman needs to fight more magical things. I think that's really cool. One of my favorite Superman fights is actually from Kingdom Come, and it's when Shazam completely just kicks his ass. Superman's vulnerable to magic, and that's something that they need to focus on. I think Superman, even outside of magic-based characters, has a great rogues gallery that's very threatening to the Man of Steel. So I think they're always severely underutilized. Zod, Luthor, Brainiac, Bizarro, Parasite. Don't give me another reinterpretation of the prankster. Just make the Parasite as threatening as he should be. Cyborg. There's so many great villains, man. Metallo, so good. I liked what Jeff Loeb would do with Superman villains. Def Rocker, how you doing? I think that they stopped using the thought bubbles because it was one of the sillier aspects of comics. It was one of the most unique things about comics growing up reading it was that you really got into the character's head and you could see what they were thinking. But as comic books, as the scripting became a little bit more sophisticated from the 80s into the 90s, they kind of veered away from it a little bit and went more to narration boxes. I like the caption boxes better personally. The first time I remember seeing that in a comic book was the changeover was like around the Frank Miller Daredevil stuff, and then in the 90s with some of the Vertigo stuff, and then nowadays you hardly see thought bubbles. I don't like thought bubbles as much. I think they bog down a story flow sometimes. If done right, some people used to write really good thought bubbles, and they would basically be what narration captions are today, and like Frank Miller did that. Like even in some of his Daredevil work, when it was still just thought bubbles, like it read the way people actually think, and I kind of like that. And then they added the idea of the journal, and there's Batman's journaling, and this is his report. I think it's a cool story, a story tactic and strategy, to not just have to do nobody has these crazy long soliloquies in their head like that while they're walking down the street. But it did allow a lot of the writers in the 70s and 80s especially to kind of almost write prose a little bit in a way. And there's some really eloquent writing in the thought bubbles of comic books back in those days. especially by people like Kurt Busiek and Chris Claremont, things like that. But I'm more of a fan of the caption, personally. What do you guys like? David misses those bubbles. Excuse me. You know, Alexander, about the New Mutants book, well, the current one's about to wrap up. Rosenberg's been doing a good job on it. I don't know what's going to happen. I think the sales were really strong, and I think they kind of leveled out on the title. So I don't know if the sales are going to justify them having an ongoing title or anything like that. But they are going to be featured in the upcoming Uncanny X-Men storyline, X-Men Disassembled. So they are going to be featured there. We'll see what happens. But it may be a possibility. It seems like Rosenberg is a man on the rise at Marvel right now. Seems to be characters he really enjoys. And everything X-related he has touched, except for Phoenix Resurrection, which I wasn't the hugest fan of. But I thought he had the voices of the characters true. But I think he's doing a good job. And if he wants to do a New Mutants book, I think he'll push it. And he might get it. But I think he might utilize those characters in other methods, in other books. That being said, what about X Factor? Well, this Multiple Man series has been pretty good. And the response to it has been pretty good, too. So he says Multiple Man is a big deal in the upcoming X-Men storyline that they're doing. So it's possible. Which X Factor would you like to see? Would you like to see the Multiple Man Peter David X Factor? Would you like to see the Havoc more old school Peter David X Factor? Would you like to see the old school X Factor, which was my favorite X Factor I love that book because it introduced Apocalypse, but the one that, had Cyclops, Angel, Jean. I don't know. It seems like those are the X-Men, of course, and like Multiple Man, Havoc of them. But I could definitely see Astonishing X-Men kind of folding and him getting to relaunch X Factor with Havoc and Multiple Man. I think that would be a really cool book. Because both books kind of tonally feel the same. What's up, Webhead? Yeah, man. I really like that Cold Day story at Batman. That was amazing stuff. All that disappointment that people had with the wedding and all that, he just completely wiped all that out by just pumping out 3 amazing scripts. Get Lee Weeks and Brett Heiser on the artwork. Fantastic, beautiful, elegant, gorgeous stuff. Does anybody remember that there was a wedding supposed to happen? Because we're all just like, what great comic books. And that's what King and Weeks have just done with that Cold Day story. Amazing stuff. I love it. And yeah, at the end of it, Batman's kind of more back to basics. He's back in his old suit because he doesn't want to wear the suit that he spent time with Selena in. And I can dig that. And I think that's really, really cool. What's up, Comic Guy and Patch? Thanks for stopping in and shouting hello. We do appreciate it here. And thank you for shouting out the top 5. That's right. I just launched a new top 5 show here on the channel. Robbie's Top 5. It comes out every other Thursday. 2 episodes are out. Top 5 Fantastic Four books. It's basically top 5 Fantastic Four comic book runs. And top 5 favorite Batman comics, which is basically top 5 favorite Batman graphic novels, like trade paperbacks, things like that. So I'm really proud of them, and I think they're good, solid lists. And I want you guys to check them out and let me know what your lists are. What are your favorite Fantastic Four and Batman comics? I want to know. But the next episode, which comes out not this Thursday, but the following Thursday, is about Superman books. And I'm very excited about that list because I actually reread these books right before I did this video, and I was like so excited. Yeah, Moon Knight. I can't get into the comic book right now either. I don't like what Max Bemis is doing with the character. I really love what Warren Ellis, Brian Wood, and Jeff Lemire did with the character. Have you tried reading those? I would recommend, if you want to get into Moon Knight and you haven't read it, or even if you have, I would recommend From the Dead, which is the 6 issues by Declan Shalvey, Jordi Belair, and Warren Ellis. That, to me, that got me into Moon Knight. Moon Knight, to me, was always just a little too much of a ripoff, but I do like the aspect of Egyptian mythology that's involved. So I like all that stuff, but the character otherwise never appealed to me. I'd rather read Batman. I'd rather read Daredevil. But that Warren Ellis run really was good. Brian Wood followed that up. It was really good. Cullen Bunn came in. He did a few up and down issues here and there. Then Jeff Lemire came in, did some crazy stuff. With what Bemis is doing right now, it feels a little too soap opera-y to me, a little too just trying too hard. I do like Max Bemis's work. I'm not really that familiar with his band Say Anything, but his comic book work, I think, is pretty solid. Polarity which is a book he did, is one of my favorite comic books. So there you go. Yeah, David. See, like the thought bubbles are cool, but it just, I don't know. It's like sometimes it seemed like back in the day that the writers were under a mandate from editorial to fill as much of the page up with words as they could. And they used that in order to preserve realistic dialogue, which was not always the case in comic books in the 70s and 80s. But the ones especially that did have realistic dialogue, sometimes they would like be very verbose in the thought bubbles. And so that's why I kind of like preferred the narration. Dark Knight Returns, Year One, all that Batman stuff that Frank Miller. I think Frank Miller was a big proponent of getting comic books out of the thought bubble and into the narration caption. But I could be wrong. But I really think that, especially a Marvel, like with Sin City, like that stuff in it, the Frank Miller stuff reads more about it, at least to me. I don't know how you guys think in your head when you talk to yourself, your inner monologue, but mine's more like what Frank Miller books are like. Does that make sense? Like, I don't speak to myself in full-on sentences and eloquent phrases and essays. Though I'd like to think that I do, but not really. The only DC Comics New Age of Heroes, the only one that is officially being done is Immortal Men. Immortal Men is going to end after 6 issues. New Challengers was already going to end after 6 issues. There are a lot of rumors right now that they're all going to be canceled except for Silencer and the Terrifics. That's just a rumor. It makes sense, though, because the Terrifics right now is getting a lot of traction, especially with Jeff Lemire. Like he's already risen to the top of the comic book game, but now he's like rising to be like one of the top in the comic book game, period, right? So he's hitting a point in his career that if he wants to keep making that book, I think DC's going to let him, at least for a little bit longer. I think it's definitely going to let him have a little bit more opportunity to tell a story. They're going to be introducing the character of Silencer into the next season of Arrow, so they'll definitely keep that book around for that. So the rumors, they ring true. They sound like that's how it would kind of go. So that's just what the only one that officially has been canceled, though, is Immortal Men. But I would not be surprised if they all go except for Silencer and the Terrifics. But guarantee you that those characters will exist in other books. I've not read the Incal. The Incal, I don't know. I don't even know what that is. Issue 198 of what? What are we talking about there? I don't know anything about House 'em Up, but I'll check it out and I'll let you know on the weekly comic book review this Tuesday night. Which there's not a lot of comic books out this week, so hopefully I can get it out decently early, maybe. Yeah, I do not like the new Wolverine costume. I don't think it's a permanent change. We posted about it in the PCP Army, and everybody kind of agreed that it looked like something like someone that is a chef at a restaurant or something would wear, or a waiter, something like that. So it seems like the gist is most people aren't digging it, so Marvel's not going to keep it around. I like Declan Shalvey, though. I think it's a decent, like, if it was like, oh, here's a story from Wolverine's past, and he was wearing that, I'd be cool. That's fine, right? But if that's the new costume going forward, no one's going to be pleased with that, so they're obviously going to get rid of that. But it's going to be in that book. But I don't know. And someone asked me a question earlier about what's the point of his claws heating up now? Yeah, I have no idea either. It doesn't make sense to me. It seems like the most useless thing. But I don't know. We'll have to see. And apparently, it's somehow tied in with some things that Jason Aaron's going to reveal in Avengers. I don't know. Who knows? We'll have to see. But by the way, I just mentioned it, PCP Army. If you guys are on Facebook, you want to join us in our group, it's me and a bunch of the rest of the PCP crew that you see and hear on the videos and the podcast. We all chill with a group of our followers and our friends and family, and we all just have a nice, fun, positive pop culture discussion all day long at the PCP Army over on Facebook. Yeah, man, I have those 100-page giants. Here's the first batch right here. Right there, I just picked up I don't know if you can see them, but I just picked up the new ones, Batman #2 and the Teen Titans #2. And somewhere over there, I got the Superman #2 and all that stuff. But obviously, almost everything that's in here, we already have, right? So it's not that big of a deal. But it does have some new content in it. There's like 12 pages of story in each one, and starting next month is when Tom King's doing a Superman story and Brian Michael Bendis is doing a Batman story with Nick Darrington. I'm super pumped for that. But yes, the Terrifics is being reprinted in Superman 100-page Giants. So these are actually kind of cool. The Superman one reprints. Let's see. It reprints the Terrifics. It reprints when Green Lantern relaunched. Oh man, is that Rebirth that it's got in there? And it's Superman Batman #1. Oh, okay, so it's Superman Batman #1 that's reprinting that. The Teen Titans reprints the Jeff Johns run. Hush is being reprinted in Batman. What Justice League story have they been reprinting? This has a new Wonder Woman story in it too. Oh, it's the New 52 one. But they're fun, and they're really cool introductions to the characters for new readers and things like that. $5, 100 pages, and the new content, it seems neat. So I've been checking them out. If you go to Walmart's though, they're only going to have a handful. They come out, 2 of them come out every 2 weeks. It's kind of the schedule they got right now. Like this weekend, they just released the Teen Titans and the Batman second issues. But you can find them in the front of the store near the self-checkouts, at least around here. They're in that space where all the Magic and Pokemon cards and some of the Pops and things like that are. Because that whole thing is like stocked by a different company or something. Thank you all time for watching our other video. Thank you. I like this shirt too. I really do. This is one of my favorites. TeePublic does these shirts, and they have some really cool designs where they just kind of take the characters and kind of just simplify it a little bit, make it look a little neon-y and stuff, and they have some really cool ones. There's a new one that has Beast that I'm really thinking about getting. There's a Beast and a Jubilee. Man, I kind of want the Jubilee shirt too. What's up, Stephanie? How are you doing? Yeah, Wolvie Chef. He slices and dices. Yeah. It looks like he's selling like Ginzu knives or whatever, right? I love Venom #5. I thought it was amazing. I thought it was great. I'm loving Donny Cates' work on Venom right now. I love Ryan Stegman's artwork on Venom right now. I think it's the best artwork of his career. I'm loving the story. I think it's the best Venom comic book that we've ever got. I think it's adding a lot of richness and depth to the character of not just Eddie Brock, but the symbiote. And it's adding nice like backstory and new layers to the mythology of Venom. And I love it so much. Cates has stated that he's on Venom for a very, very, very long time. The book is selling. It's not going to have a problem with that. It seems to be the biggest, most high-profile book that he's on right now. And I think it's going to go for as long as it sells and he wants to. And it seems like he's got like a damn near 100-issue run kind of planned for this whole thing. So it says like he has no danger of running out of Venom stories. This is definitely, if he's got that strong of a love for the character and people stay this height, that book could go for a while. X-Men Grand Design is really fun. If you like hip-hop, you should check out his previous work, Hip Hop Family Tree. It's pretty much the same thing, but with the history of hip-hop. But it's a really ambitious project to take all this convoluted X-Men history and tell it in a very streamlined way, in a very textbook-type way, and I really, really like it. I think that we're only getting one Black Label book for September. I think the only release we're getting at first is going to be Batman the Damned. I have read it. I thought it was pretty decent. Lee Bermejo's artwork is beautiful, luscious, dark. The story's pretty interesting. It takes a minute to get there, and it has a lot of random appearance by Justice League Dark type characters that don't really seem to make too much sense. They just seem like they're kind of forced in there for me. So the script was all right, but the artwork was gorgeous. That's what I thought about it. But everybody's going to have to make their own opinions on it. But it's definitely going to be cool to see it. I didn't read a print one, so it's going to be really cool to see it because it's going to be a little bit bigger now, and it's a new format. But the story was interesting. But the biggest thing is, once again, it's Brian Azzarello writing John Constantine, and he knows how to write John Constantine. And he's pretty much been one of the only American writers that really understands how to write Constantine. I think Azzarello's run on Hellblazer is severely, severely underrated. So if you've never read it, you should. You really should. I think I heard today that we're getting the Captain Marvel trailer around the time of the start of what did I hear? Is it this winter? It's there. There was something I saw today, and I don't remember what it was, but they are discussing it now. Hopefully soon. I was just chatting with Brooks. You guys know Brooks from Movie Monday, right? I was just chatting with Brooks yesterday, and Brooks was so pissed off that they haven't released the Captain Marvel trailer yet. He was so mad. He's like, that movie comes out in a handful of months, and we don't have the trailer yet. I'm so mad. And I was like, they don't care. They know. They're like, it's a new Marvel movie. We'll go see it. We don't need to see a trailer, right? Because back in the day, like movies, they would like show the trailers like a year or two before sometimes. You'd be like, man, that movie comes out next summer. They don't do that as much anymore, do they? Marvel doesn't. Yeah, Kate wants to write Venom for a long time, so we'll see. Earth One by Jeff Johns. I really like Earth One by Jeff Johns too. And thank you for watching. Earth One by Jeff Johns, the Batman Earth One book by him and Gary Frank. I think it's the best Alfred story I've ever read. I'll definitely give you that. I think it's got some great Penguin in it. It's got a great cohesiveness, taking all these different elements from Batman and making it all fit together in one. I like it a lot. I really, really do. Doomsday Clock is preventing the third volume from coming out. I haven't read volume 2 yet, to be honest with you. But I was blown away by Alfred and Batman Earth One. I love it. But just not top 5 for me. And it really hurt not putting certain. I'm probably going to do another top 5 Batman comics video one day, and I'm going to focus more on extended runs, because then it takes out things like Dark Knight Returns and Killing Joke and Year One, because those are just like little mini series, right? So extended runs, because in this video I didn't get to talk about the extended run that Grant Morrison did on Batman or Greg Rucka. He had some stellar work on the character, which I think is probably my favorite Batman run, might be Greg Rucka's. Would you like to see Mac have a symbiote again? I think I'd like to see that. But at the same time, it's cool to have him back as the Scorpion, but they haven't done anything really with him since. And they keep making his costume look so bulky and dumb. Make it look sleek and cool. That's what it looked like before. I know talking about that 60s Scorpion costume is looking cool seems kind of silly. I know it wouldn't really work in the real world today or anything like that. But something sleeker. I don't like the big heavy armor that they've been putting him in lately. I like his run as Venom. I thought it was pretty decent, but I'm so happy to have Eddie Brock back. But it'd be cool to see what Donny Cates does. I want Donny Cates to have a story where Blade shows up. And I've told him that on Twitter. And he told me he thought that was a good idea. So if it ever happens, guys, you're welcome. There's a big, strong rumors that they're doing the Skrulls in Captain Marvel. That's not official, though, right? We don't know for sure that it's Skrulls, but we think that the Kree Skrull thing is going to be referenced, maybe. I think that's a good way to do it. I don't think, building up to a big Kree Skrull war seems anticlimactic, maybe, after the Infinity Gauntlet, but it seems like Secret Wars are. I think the next big thing they're going to build up to now will be Galactus. Now that they got the FF back, but doing the Kree Skrull war as if it happened in the '90s. And it would fit in with why Captain Marvel's still out in space. And I think so. Yeah, I love that Shazam trailer. It was my favorite trailer from Comic-Con this year. I thought it was really good. And yeah, Angry Brooks is no good. He's a trip when he gets angry, though. It happens. It happens, though. It does happen. Not often, though. Brooks is one of the most chill, laid-back, don't give an F people that I've ever met. Like, seriously, Brooks does not care. Brooks cares. Brooks cares about a lot, but Brooks don't care about anything unless he chooses to care about it. Brooks is so zen sometimes. Well, if these Defenders one-shots sell enough slime, maybe we can get an ongoing. I'm really excited to see Chip Zdarsky tackle Namor. He's been doing a good job over at Marvel 2-in-1 with Johnny and Ben and Victor, so I'd like to see him do Namor. I still view Namor as a Fantastic Four character. Cates is to Venom what Aaron is to Thor. Absolutely. Just 5 issues in, right? Cates is to Venom, like you know, Grant Morrison is to the multiverse. You know, Cates is to Venom like Denny O'Neil is to The Question, like Mike Grell is to Green Arrow. Absolutely. A definitive run. Like, you know, like the best run is of Green Arrow is Mike Grell, and everybody's going to say that pretty much. And the best run, I mean, like, it's just that creator that's such attached to a work, and it's just so fantastic. I love the classic Scorpion look too. I mean, go with it, make it work. You know, it could be designed cool and sleeker. Like, to be honest, even though it wasn't the same version of the Scorpion, the Ultimate Scorpion from the Ultimate Spider-Man book that Mark Bagley redesigned, it worked for me. I thought it looked great. That being said, you know what I think is severely underrated is the 90s Young Vulture. I think that's the coolest Vulture we've ever had. And you know what? I'm going after that Toy Biz toy. Do you remember that? The Spider-Man animated series, they did a Young Vulture action figure. I'm going after it. I'm looking for it. I haven't heard anything about a Daredevil reboot. It does feel like Charles Soule might be towards the end of his run. I don't know why I say that. It just feels like it maybe. I don't read that book, so I don't really know. I don't really like his work that much, but I am loving what he's doing with Darth Vader right now. But I'd like to see some new blood come on to Daredevil. And my take on Gotham Central is I love it. I love Gotham Central. I think it's amazing. Michael Lark's artwork is beautiful. It's stylish. It's noirish. I really like it. I love Ed Brubaker's contribution. I love those stories. Some strong character work with Renee Montoya. I love Rucka and Brubaker on Gotham Central. It's one of my favorite DC comic books ever. You know, I wasn't the biggest fan of the Agent Venom run. I eventually learned to love Flash Thompson as Venom. I didn't think it was a bad take for the character, but I like Eddie Brock Venom. And I'm just, you know, it had been so long and I was just so ready to have Eddie Brock back. So I liked when they had Flash Thompson as Agent Anti-Venom, though that name was a mouthful. But they took care of that, didn't they? But I would have liked to seen him maybe like take on a different symbiote or something. And, you know, there's so many possibilities when it comes to that. He'll be back. You know, we have been talking about releasing a Brooks t-shirt design, which we do have t-shirt designs. So you can check them out at tpublic.com. What's up, Comics Watching? I'm glad you're pumped for the Defenders announcement. A lot of you guys are Defenders fans. This is something I come across all the time, is people that really respond heavily to the Defenders and the original OG Defenders. We're talking about Hulk, Namor, Silver Surfer, Doctor Strange. Valkyrie was a part of that whole crew. People really like that run, man. So I think I need to go back and reread that. Does anybody know if that's on Comixology Unlimited or Marvel Unlimited? I have to check it out. Jessica Drew in the Captain Marvel movie would be cool, but we got to be wary because the Captain America movie, the Captain Marvel movie is going to be set in the 90s, which is not 10 years ago anymore, even though I still think it only is. So if you introduce Jessica Drew back then, you can't really have her now. Captain Marvel makes a little bit more sense. Maybe her powers kind of like stop her from being aged. Maybe her trip into space or something. Like maybe there's some kind of time warp or something. But it would be cool to have Spider-Woman in the MCU. I definitely think that would be cool. I think those rights are held right now by Sony, though. But maybe just have Jessica Drew. Maybe I get what you're saying. Right now, John Romita Jr. is strictly a DC guy, only because I think he just hasn't done much work at DC, and he's focusing on that right now. But rest assured, he'll be back at Marvel someday soon. It would be cool to see him do Daredevil again, but it seems like he doesn't like going back and redoing characters. Seems like he always wants to do something different. Brett says that Brooks t-shirt's great. Yeah, we need to put out the Brooks design. I think people will buy it. Huh. Brett just asked me, since Cates and Aaron are such good friends, and Cates keeps referencing Aaron stuff, will Conan have a symbiote connection? Possibly. That'd be cool. That'd be a nice little throwback, you know? Shout outs back and forth. Yeah, I haven't read Daredevil consistently since Soul took over. I hated that 10 Fingers guy. I read the Beckett book. I thought it was really good for super, super hardcore Star Wars fans that wanted to know more about that character. But ultimately, as much as I love the Solo movie, it didn't really do that much for me. It was all right. It wasn't bad. Hey, Alicia. Long time no hear from. I think the Conan book is just going to be its own thing in its own continuity. I don't think they're going to tie it into what's going on or anything like that. I think it will be kind of like a soft reboot. I think it will reference a lot of things that came before. Jason Aaron seems to be a huge Conan fan. At least that's what he's been posting on Twitter recently. So I don't think they're going to do anything crazy to like reintroduce them into continuity or anything like that. I think they're just going to, I think he's just going to do some Conan books. Conan is one of those characters that's like James Bond, right? You could just make a James Bond story. It could take place whenever. It's got the same elements, you know, and people are going to be into it. Man, you guys really like the Defenders. Did that bother you guys then when they kind of changed the whole branding of the Defenders to like Luke Cage and Iron Fist and Jessica Jones and Daredevil? Yeah, that's one of those weird things, right? If Marvel has the rights to Jessica Drew, but Sony has the rights to Spider-Woman, that's interesting. Yeah, Namor's awesome. Plus, he's the sexiest Marvel character out there. I want a dark Daredevil too. And and it doesn't necessarily have to be dark. I loved what Mark Waid and Chris Samney were doing with the character. So having a light, more positive, upbeat Daredevil is fun too, because that's how the book originally was. You know, Frank Miller's work on the character is not the be all end all. There's a lot of other work to draw from. Denny O'Neil had some good bits in there too, but it was more of the darker persuasion of stories too. But yeah, the 10 finger thing was so stupid, and he had a gun that had 10 triggers, and I'm like, dude, that's not how guns work, man. What? Oh, so stupid. I like big, giant cosmic stories. And is that the vibe of the old school Defender stuff? It's offbeat, it's cosmic, it's crazy, it's weird. That's cool. Yeah, I didn't like Diggle's run so much. I really didn't. That was during the Shadowland bit, right? I didn't really like that. I liked it at first, and then I didn't like it ultimately. Sony owns the rights to Silk. Sony has the movie rights to pretty much anything that's actually involved, like all the Spider-Man universe stuff. So that's even Nightwatch, that's Prowler, that's Silvermane, that would apparently Kingpin's kind of one of those ones in the middle, you know, but like just pretty much anything that's typically a Spider-Man character, that's Sony. Thank you, David. Yeah, no kidding, right? Like the 10 fingers thing. Like he could have been called 10 fingers, and he didn't actually have to have like 10 fingers on each hand. And yeah, he had a gun that had 10 triggers on. Whatever. So I just recently got my homie Mike, the voice Matthews, just told me he just met Chris Jericho. And that's awesome. I just forgot about that. His band Fozzy is playing in my town tonight, and I'm not there. I'm here. Never really listened to their music. I'm not much of a wrestling fan anymore. I just watched the Hot Ones episode with Chris Jericho last night. So, Mike, that is awesome. That is super, super cool. Yeah, he had 10 fingers on each hand. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? So weird. What's up, Comics Misexplained? Yeah, my buddy just met. That's super cool. He just met Chris Jericho. What was I talking about? I totally got distracted. Oh, well. Yeah, Fozzy. That's the name of the band, right? I've never heard it. I heard it's like metal or something like that. I'm not as big into wrestling as I used to be. I used to be big into wrestling. So college football starting this Saturday. Any college football fans? Well, it's already started, I guess, but my team starts this Saturday. I'm an Auburn Tigers fan. War Eagle, everybody. This is one of my favorite sports times of the year because you got baseball heating up, and the Yankees have been on a good tread right now, and the Red Sox have been kind of faltering again lately, so we're kind of making up a little bit of ground, and that's fun and that's exciting. I love baseball. Then college football starts, and then pro football starts, and it's just a good time, isn't it? When I wake up Saturday morning and I put on game day and I hear the marching bands playing, because I was a band geek, you know, I'm going to say that. I just love it. I love it so much. Oh, that's so cool. I bet that was freaky scary. If I was there when I saw Hulk Hogan turn heel, it would have terrified me. You're right. I wasn't quite as young back then, though. But that would have happened in the 80s, man. Like when Earthquake sat on Hulk Hogan, and I thought, I feared for his life, man. Like, I was so bothered as a kid. I remember that. My favorite wrestler of all time, though, is The Rock. I love The Rock. I think he's the best. He's a great shit talker. He's just a brilliant performer, great entertaining, very athletic, a very inspirational figure, even though his character is a complete jerk, and I like that kind of stuff. USF Bulls. All right, all right. Oh, we got another War Eagle. What's up? My favorite old school wrestler was Ultimate Warrior. I loved it. That's hilarious. You had a moment like Bruce did in the opera in Batman Begins. Except for, like, hopefully everything worked out all right on your way home. I do remember the Hulk Hogan versus The Rock. It was all right. It was an okay match. I'm sure that meant a big deal to Hulk Hogan and The Rock. Especially, I think that meant a big deal to Dwayne Johnson. Ultimate Warrior was the thing. I had that little mask. Like, when I went and saw for the first time the WWF, at the time it was the WWF, I got one of them Ultimate Warrior, like, it was just like a stupid little string mask that you could put on, and I got like the little styrofoam belt, and Ultimate Warrior was there. I lost my mind. I love it so much. Macho Man was a favorite of mine too. I really like Macho Man. I also really liked Undertaker, and I really liked was it Brutus the Barber Beefcake? I loved him. I had an action figure of the $1 Million Man. I loved that action figure. I loved his belt. Oh, how does Avengers 4 end? Do you think they have... I think Avengers 4 will wrap up a story, but do you think that the post-credits teaser will maybe reference the Fantastic Four or the X-Men or Galactus? I think the next phase, now that they've got the characters and they're going to be able to work them in, I think they're going to build up to Galactus. That's what I think. I also really liked Roddy Piper. I thought he was awesome. Of course, when I was a kid, I loved the movie They Live as well. But I don't keep up with wrestling at all anymore. It's too much work. There's way too much wrestling out there, man. I have too many comic books to read. Too many. I have a lot of friends that are still very hardcore into wrestling. And if you're into wrestling, I recommend my buddy Jason Sean Carl. He's got some podcasts that he's on. ENS podcast, RCR Reviews. Follow him on social media and things like that. He loves wrestling. My homies here at the PCP crew, Mike, Timothy, Drew, they love wrestling. They are always on me about doing wrestling content. And I'm like, guys, I don't do it. You make the videos, I'll release them. But they haven't done it yet, have they? I'm calling you guys out. Yeah, $1 Million Man shows up. At the Pop Culture Expo here in Huntsville, Alabama, that's coming in March, 2 guests are very cool for wrestling fans. He hasn't officially announced them yet. I don't think Jeremy's going to officially announce them until Monday. You guys are going to be excited if you're wrestling fans. I loved, I just saw your Ron and Tammy comment and it cracked me up. I loved Andre the Giant. Who didn't? Come on. Especially Princess Bride, right? Andre the Giant was awesome. He's massive and he was a cool, he just seemed like the gentle giant, right? He was a great character. I remember when he was a villain You remember at first we weren't supposed to like him, but we still did, and ultimately I guess he became a babyface or something. But you know what? Okay, Slime, Stephanie, I will totally show you that Ron Swanson pop in just a second. I got some toys I want to show off anyway before we wrap up. But I was like, I was completely prepared going into Infinity War to witness the death of either Thor or Cap or Iron Man. And that moment when Tony gets stabbed towards the end, I thought he was about to die. Man, I was not ready for that. So I'm not going to be ready for anything like that happens. I've grown very close to these characters, and we'll always have Tony Stark in the comic books, but Robert Downey Jr. has just encapsulated the character of Tony Stark so well. He will be missed when he steps back. There's a big rumor. There's been a rumor. I don't know if this is going to actually happen. But yes, Spider-Gwen just switched to Ghost Spider. And what about Miles Morales? There's a rumor that he's going to kind of like join S.H.I.E.L.D. or some kind of spy organization, and he will be Spy-D. Spidey. Get it? I hope they don't do that. Just let him be Spider-Man. Tammy 2 or Tammy 1. Which one? This, Ron Swanson, is from the Tammy 2 era. So that's it right there. This is straight from San Diego Comic-Con. I got a buddy who helps out Funko, and he always hooks me up every year. So that's super, super cool. So this is Ron Swanson from the episode when Tammy 2 shows back up, and he goes on this crazy like sex drug binge or something. And this is so funny to me. I love it. There's also a little Sebastian pop. That's kind of cool. But there's the Andy Dwyer pop. He's got his guitar. But there's an exclusive somewhere where it's Burt Macklin. I kind of want that pop too. But that's the Ron Swanson pop right there. And that came straight from Comic-Con. Thank you, homie. This one I just got this week because my buddy Mike, the guy that just met Chris Jericho, this is the White Tiger Zord pop. It was an exclusive to Hot Topic. We ordered this online, so we got it in this weekend. Very, very cool pop. Very excited about this one. That is sharp, man. That is sharp. And they got this whole new wave of Power Ranger pops coming out. You got Rita and Lord Zed and Goldar finally, and you got unmasked versions of the rest. So that's super, super cool. But yeah, White Tigers are forever, man. Absolutely. Yeah, when they stabbed him, I was like, my chest started tightening up. I was just like freaking out. I was like, he's about to go. He's about to go. Love binge is a better way to say that, I guess. Yeah, Spidey is dumb, right? I don't think they're going to do it, but we'll see what happens. I would like to see Brian Hill tackle the character. He did that little annual, and I thought he did a good job. Seems like he's coming up in the industry. Brian Hill comes across as a really cool dude, really understands story, but it seems like he likes working on darker type books. But I'm really pumped to see his American Carnage book come out. Parks and Rec is the best. Wow, okay. What is my take on comic shops limiting purchases or taking hot comics off the shelf and putting one comic book at a time? Well, I can't really speak for other shops. I can speak for the shop that I work at. This is what happens when a book just gets hot, right? And this has happened. Like, for instance, there's a Venom issue, and it comes out and it changes this, and it starts rising up, right? Well, whatever the market value determines that a book is worth, especially if it's old school, we all accept that value, right? Like First Appearance of Wolverine, yeah, that's what the market says it's worth. That's what we do. But on books that come out like the day of release and they're hot and they're already selling for like 10 to 15 bucks, we don't want to sell them for 10 to 15 bucks. So what we do at my shop is sometimes we will pull them off of the shelf and we'll have them behind the counter. We'll put a sign up that says, ask about the new issue of blah, blah, blah at the counter. And when someone comes up, we go, you want it? It's cover price. So we sell it to you at cover price. But if you want more than one and you didn't pre-order it, we will charge you the market value for it, because usually that only happens if you're trying to resell it. Now, we don't care if you buy a comic book and resell it. We don't care about that. What we don't want to have happen is we don't want people to come up and buy up every copy that we have of something so that our customers can't get it. Because if a book is hot, I guarantee you that our customers want to read it. So we try to, we care about comic book fans, period, but we try to cater more towards the readers over like the speculators, right? So if you ordered 50 copies of something from my shop, if you pre-ordered 50 copies of something and it comes out and it's a big, crazy, like $20 book, you're only going to pay cover. And if you just walk into my shop and you're like, hey, I heard this book is crazy and hot online, we'll sell you a copy at cover price. That's how we work. But we won't let people buy us out to take away the opportunity for other people to come in and check out that book. So that's why my shop would pull a book off of the shelf like that. But I can't speak for other shops or why they would do it, but that's why we do it. And I don't think that that is a bad practice to have, because I think that getting more comic books into more people's hands is always a good thing. So that's kind of what we do. That would be neat if he's in the quantum realm. If Scott's like in the quantum realm and he finds the Fantastic Four there, that would be neat. I'd like to imagine that they are off in the negative zone and have been for years and years and years. You talking about the Power Rangers TV show? I think every single episode of Power Rangers is on Netflix. Isn't that cool? Champions and Weapon H are both going to Weird World in October with the Man-Thing prominent in both stories. Do you anticipate them meeting up? Yes. Hey, I got 2 points. Thank you. Doctor Strange knows the end of Avengers 4 for sure. Yes, Stephanie, and that's what we try to stop doing. We don't want someone to come in and buy up all the copies of something. So that's the only reason why we would pull a book off the shelf. But we wouldn't prevent anybody from buying it at cover price. 1 copy at cover price. 1 copy of each cover even at cover price. I am not the biggest guy. That I don't go and look for the most pristine, perfect copy of my book. The books that I actually buy, I buy to keep and read. I know people like that. I see it all the time, and you know, more power to them. But they don't all come perfect, and that's just the way that shipping, the reality of shipping is, the reality of diamond. The Hulk from Avengers Infinity War is a scroll. They have said that the Russo brothers have said that the Hulk wouldn't come out because he's having a battle with Bruce after being in charge of in control of the body for so long that he refuses to come out on command. But it seemed like it was definitely a lot more about, to me, it seemed more like he was scared of Thanos, but apparently that's not it. My idea for the Fantastic Four would be this. In the 60s, 4 scientists went off to breach dimensions and they disappeared in the negative zone, right? And now, like say it's the whatever 50th, 60th, whatever anniversary of the fateful voyage of the 4. They've never been seen again, blah, 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 something like that. Maybe there's more than just them. Maybe Victor's involved or something, but maybe not even all the way back to the 60s, but at some point in the past, the 4 went off. They broke the dimensional barrier. They've been in the negative zone. They come back. They've only aged like a year or two, and meanwhile, like 20 years has passed, something like that. That's what I would do. But it is a little Captain America. But I think it's important to still have the Fantastic Four be the first family. Does that make sense? This is what I think. I hear good things about RoboCop Citizen's Arrest. I'm going to wait till the trade comes out, and I'm going to check it out. Yeah, Brendan Fraser and Doom Patrol. I forgot to cover that in the weekly pop culture wrap-up. Shame on me. Super pumped for him as Robot Man. I think that's going to be really, really cool. Yeah, I would like to see Cyborg and the Titans too, but I don't know. This Titans is not. I'm not sold on this Titans book at all. at all. Oh, he just sent me a picture. He got a Chris Jericho pop signed. That's super cool. Way to go, Mike. That's awesome. Cool. All right. So we're about to wrap up here. So any final questions, get them out right now. We're going to sign off. Remember, this week at the comic book stores, it's going to be a light week, but I would definitely recommend you picking up The New Gods by Jack Kirby trade paperback. If you've never checked out that stuff, some of the best comic books ever, in my opinion. I would also highly recommend that you pick up the Judas trade paperback from Boom Studios. That book was haunting, soulful, and chilling. It was really, really good, and a cool alternate telling of the story of Judas Iscariot. So I really like that stuff. I recommend that. This is a moment, if you don't have a lot on your pull list this week, either just relax and enjoy the break from your wallet, from your bank account, or check out some new books, try out some trade paperbacks, things like that. That's what I would do. Yeah, Judas was great, was it not? But we're about to wrap up here, guys. I want to thank you guys so much for checking us out. Be sure to check us out at popculturephilosophers.com. That's where you'll find our podcast, the most up-to-date podcast, and all that and more. The podcast is super fun. It will be coming back soon. We still got a little bit more space to clear out, and we're going to get right back onto it. And we're going to release, we're going to have a bunch of podcasts ready. To help support the channel, you can go over to TeePublic and help support us by buying a t-shirt. You can get over on patreon.com/PCP, and there you can unlock some like early access to things like that. Tomorrow, we will have a brand new episode of Movie Monday. We're going to be talking about the 2009 Wonder Woman animated movie. We're going through the DC animated films right now. So Wonder Woman is this week. That's tomorrow. Late Tuesday night will be the weekly comic book review. We do that every single week. We talk about comics. It's a super fun show. I love doing it. And we're going to release one of the old school podcasts on YouTube this week. Lots of fun stuff to look out for. Two episodes of Top 5 are out right now. The third episode will be coming next week. Lots of excitement. We'll be back here next Sunday for another Robbie Rants Live, another chat. So thank you guys so much. We really appreciate your support. Yeah, checking out everything. And yeah, Chris Jericho, Y2J, right? Thank you guys so much. We'll be here again next week. And don't forget to check out our other content and all that stuff and more. Thank you guys for rocking with us. Deuces.